of Higher Education. We have a bill before us, so we are on consultation stage. The clerk just reminded me, let's start from introduction of members and the delegates. I am Honorable Yahya Sanya, the chairperson for this committee. Thank you very much. I'm sure we are done with the introduction now, so we go proper to the business. As I said before, we have a bill committed to this committee called the Gambia Public Buildings and Facilities Authority. So we are on the consultation to lay this bill before the plenary by September. And making the law, it has to be consultative. That means that all the stakeholders who are part and parcel of that law should be consulted to get their views. So this is the process we are doing right now. Minister of Education supposed to lay their position paper because they realize that this bill has affected their operations, and as I said before, we need to make laws consultative so that we can achieve them to be very progressive. So today we will listen to the Ministry of Education to give us their position paper, and also maybe we have few words from the Ministry of Higher Education. I'm sure Ministry of Higher Education more or less are the same institutions, because I'm sure still the PCU still monitor and supervise your projects. So I'm sure their position will eventually be your positions, right? Okay, thank you very much. And we can now start with the ministry. The DPS will do the presentation of the construction program money.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, other honorable members of the committee, and subject matter specialists, my colleagues from the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, and from MOPSI. I want to thank the committee once again for inviting the ministry to this very important consultative session. We met here before, and we partly made our concerns to the committee, and this time round we were supposed to deposit our position paper with the committee. It will be recalled that when the bill was shared, we observed that some of the terms of reference of the authority would have some consequences on the functioning of the already established and functioning project coordination committee that oversees projects for both the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, as well as the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. We've argued our case, and in conclusion, as we did before verbally, in conclusion, we have some 4 issues that we want to share. The hard copies of the position paper is being printed and would be shared shortly. So we are saying, based on our previous argument, we observe that the TOR, as we said before and just said, will run parallel to the structures already in place at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, and the efforts or the work of the authority would somehow duplicate what is already existing and working. The proposed authority, if so wished, as we said before, there is a clause where the authority could delegate their functions to either a person or an institution. We are saying the current functions that we are performing at the level of PCU could be delegated to us so that we still continue to perform them under the clause that gives the power to the authority to delegate part of its responsibility. At the ministry, we already have full-time staff, both support and technical staff. Some of them are qualified, well-trained engineers and have a wealth of experience in construction. And already they have fixed salaries. But as we said before, we observed if the authority is created, there are certain positions that have to be created full-time. Otherwise, it may not function well. So creating new positions at this level may be a burden to government. But already we have the staff in place and are being paid for. Their salaries are being paid for. It is further suggested that the authority is going to be operational. If the authority is going to be operationalized, mostly by virtue of ownership represented well in excess of 75% government-owned buildings and facilities, a board member of the authority, that we should be a board member of the authority. If you look at government infrastructure currently, up to 75% is under either under the two ministries. Our schools are spread all over the country, and we have other infrastructure as well. The university, the training institutions under the Ministry of Fire, Education, Research, Science and Technology, all put together may constitute up to 75% of government buildings and infrastructure. So we think our sector should also be a member of the board of authorities, of the authority. So these are our requests, our wishes for the consideration of the committee. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the floor.
Thank you very much, PS, for the position paper from the ministry. Even though we are not well guided by the position paper, because we are not giving us provisions or clauses so that we can look at. But all the same, we will get this position paper. I'm sure we will be able to refer ourselves back to the provisions. You mentioned terms of references of the authority. You fear there will be role, class, and conflict with the already existing structure at the ministry. How do we minimize this role and this role, class, and conflict? And also for the PF, for the ministry to have a representative in the board, maybe probably the PS or any other person. I think that is very genuine, because looking at, as you say, 75% of government infrastructures portfolios in this country, you see that higher education and basic education by looking at schools, how many buildings each school have. So I think that is genuine. We will definitely look at these things, and I'm sure the committee is going to do the needful. I don't want to speculate, but we may also have retreat where we are going to have a final stakeholders convergence, where the ministry, higher education, basic Ministry of Transport, everybody will be there. We're going to make it a very friendly conversation so that we can see how do we incorporate the concerns from the stakeholders. So, honorable members, that is the position of the ministry. Then the floor is now open for any intervention.
I think taking cue from what you say, he was just referring to Section 8, Clause 5 of the draft. which is talking about establishment of the governing board of authorities. And going through the list, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education is not included on the list of board of directors, because what they have there is the chairperson who shall be appointed, nominated by the minister, the permanent secretary of the ministry, the permanent secretary, minister responsible for finance, the permanent secretary, ministry responsible for lands, the permanent secretary of the office of the vice president, the managing director of the Gambia Public Procurement Agency, two representatives of private sector bodies or entities who shall be nominated by the minister. So a lot of power had been given to the minister when it comes to the composition of the board. First, he is going to be the one who will be nominating the chair of the board, and is also will be responsible of appointing two other people to serve from these private sector entities who will be nominated by the minister. So I think those are areas that we need to look into. And looking at the coverage of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education when it comes to public buildings in this country, as he rightly said, I think it's prudent that we have them as board members to sit there and then ensure that the interest of the ministry and also the government, because a lot of money is going into this school construction and all these things, so that they can advise the board very well in terms of its thing. And then what they are also saying, the delegation of duties is also mentioned in section 11, the delegation by the board. So I think that also apt, because if we look at the work that they are doing, and I think they have the expertise. This school building program has been going on in this country since 1973. So with the expertise and with the role that they are doing, I think even the board can delegate that responsibility to MOPSI, because one, they have the expertise, they have the nature, the experience, and also the institutional memory when it comes to public buildings and construction in this country. So I think I am in line and in support of all what they are saying. And because these people are also people who are integrated into the pay scale of the ministry, they are full-time employees. So if you want to take that responsibility out of them, what do you do with those people who are appointed? How do you settle that? That will go into also another conflict, and then the process will be very long. I think I'm really supporting the submission that they have just presented. Thank you.
Honorable member for Combo South. Any other honorable member?
Thank you very much, Chair, for giving me the floor. I think we are all speaking the same thing. As other speakers have rightly mentioned, if you look at the number of public buildings in the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education is too much, and as they put it, they have been doing it. So it is important for them to be in the how to call it, in the board. Their presence in the board is very, very important. So I also support that idea for them to be in the board. Thank you.
Yeah, honorable members, maybe we are very excited with the submission, but I think we need to ask them questions than making so clear our position. We will do this internally. If anybody wants to ask them any question, then you can. But our position, let's keep that for now until we sit as a committee. Then we are open. We can ask them any question. If you have any question, then you can ask them. Mr. Jallo, I don't know whether you have any presentation.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My colleagues from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, the honorable members here present, the subject specialist, and the chairman. As I was saying earlier, the honorable minister and the permanent secretary are out of the country. They're on an official visit. So when we received the communique from the National Assembly, I think today I talked to Mr. Ba, confirming the date. So I'm here representing the ministry, but with regards to the bill, there was no attach on this bill. I don't know whether it's due to communications or what. I want to put that one into record. And also, with regards to presenting a subject or a paper, a position paper from the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. Of course, I want to acknowledge MOPSI presentations and submissions, which we are in agreement. But in addition, if there is a possibility for the honorable member to consider giving more time for the ministry to submit, we will be grateful so that I can report back to the permanent secretary. Is a request. So I don't know how the honorable members will consider that. Thank you.
Well, I am not sure of giving you opportunity by way of what, because I think we have given you 2 opportunities to appear here. Minister of Higher Education, you don't. But as I say, I am not sure, but we may. This is not certain yet. We may have retreat where you will be given an opportunity to make whatever presentation you want to do. This I am not sure of, but for us to give you another chance again, that one, we are already constrained by way of time because we are starting the session by 4th September, and the committee session ends end of July. So if we want to give you a chance, like we have to, reverse the entire, committee schedule of the National Assembly, which is going to be very difficult. Are you asking time to appear or to time to submit a position paper?
If I may say both, or if both cannot be possible, at least to submit a paper.
That's fine. You may say, submit a position paper. That is okay. Before end of July. That is okay.
Okay.
I think when we met with them, I think then the PS was there and he promised us that they will bring their position paper. I don't know whether they have bring that. Higher education.
Last 2 committee sessions I traveled, I was not in. But,
Is it? Huh? That's why you want. Okay.
Thank you. I think we must take our stand now as a committee chair and then start taking on things seriously. Because last time we were all here waiting. There is nothing sent to us as an apology or what. And then we are here again also that they are not appearing. So higher education, I think, is important for you to act immediately, because the last time we met, there was a promise given that we were going to send your position paper. None of you did so. Now, MOPSI is sending today. We just receiving it now, not from you, not from the other party. I think it's important that we act as quickly as possible, because there's no more time. By September, we have to lay this bill.
Yes. Okay, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would like the Permanent Secretary to dilate more on the issues he highlighted in his submission. I took note, and he said the TOR of the Building Commission will affect the operations of MOPSI. And here in the document that we are given now, I say that there is a construction unit staff with qualified construction management specialist. Okay? And here, the bill is talking about the function of the commission. And if you go through the functions of the commission is not coming to take over that responsibility of building. So where does the conflict lies here?
Can I, Honorable Member, is the authority. It's the authority, not the commission. Go to page 4.
Even
page
on
4, functions. Functions of the
functions,
authority.
Yeah, functions of the authority.
Yeah.
If you go through the functions of the authority,
Yeah.
there is no provision whereby that indicates that the authority is going to take over any construction of any building here, but they are there to set standards.
Yeah, let him please.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable. My intervention was based on the premise that this was not the first meeting. I think we met twice, and we went through the first meeting, we went through the bill, section by section. I unfortunately did not bring a copy. I would have referred to the specifics as per in accordance with our position paper. If you look at the functions of the authority, there are areas where they would say they will do X, Y, and Z. These in our observation, we are saying they are going into implementation, in fact. They will be going into implementation. And in going into implementation, they will either hire an agency or would hire personnel permanently to do that, evaluation, and so on. That is our concern. That day we went through the document item by item. If I can have the document, I'll quickly. Yeah. But my colleague also is here. He may want to say something.
No, it's not working. Yeah, I have it right now. In fact, if you look at it, page 4, functions of the authority,
develop an integral asset management framework, promote cost-effective and sustainable good practices, ensure quality control of building and construction materials, formulate plans, programs, guidelines, standards for provision of consultancy services, and the maintenance of the protection of the public buildings and facilities. Guide government ministries, department agencies, contract administration procedures, review feasibility studies. I'm just, just going quick. Commission new public building facilities, decommission old building, prepare and vet. It goes on and on. This is what I'm saying. That's why if you look at our paper in detail, you see that exactly this is what the PCU is charged to do with, all right, for our schools or infrastructure that is under our purview. Not only are we being used by the basic education, but for higher education as well. The Farawa Vantaba, you said that they build in, to name a few. So, Honorable, to clarify, we are saying that some of these functions, they're exactly as what we are presently doing within our ministry under the projects coordination unit through the construction unit. If that clarifies.
Okay, thank you very much. No, if I'm okay.
Unlike the vice chairperson rightly said, the Minister of Works should have been here. We had these issues the last time with the Minister of Environment as well. Because what the bill is trying to address is to set standards for public buildings, according to my understanding during our last interaction with the Ministry of Works. So, but notwithstanding, we can also go through this document that we have been furnished, do the needful, we get home. So when it comes to the time of recommendation, we can also put our input.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gay. Chair. I think, as far if I could, clearly hear Mr. Gay's explanation. It's like PCU MOPSI is working with higher education. So I don't think there will be any need for higher education. This thing. Send us their question paper. As far as PCU is doing the same for them, I think we can lean on that.
Okay, for the Honorable Chair, what you are saying, my mind nearly goes to it, but this is Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, in nomenclature. You go to Ministry of Basic and Secondary School Education. So, and we are making a law. Let's make it very sustainable in the future in case they want to go parallel, then they already gave us their position paper. Yeah. So, I will still probably let them still submit their position paper. Yeah.
Well, they don't per se. But what Honorable, what the chairman is saying, I quite agree. And we don't know what they want to do in the future. We have our strategy, which I think is being developed, and they also are there developing. Who knows? They might want to have their own projects coordination unit or something like that. There is a new World Bank funding that is coming, where we are going to build what they call TVET centers across the country. Who is going to do it for them also is not very clear. Or maybe they're thinking of these things. But really, I don't want to speak for them. But like you said, I think it will be fair. Let's give them the opportunity also, And to go further, I just want to help my, my honorable here. If you talk about standards, this is exactly what we're talking about. Building a classroom is not like maybe building a house or something like that. But we are telling you that the classrooms that we build, they adhere to international standards, certain standards, that we work with our partners. Any classroom that you have seen PCU has built, all right, is compliant to certain standards and norms, which are actually in line with donor requirements or whoever our funding partner is. So we send them, they're vetted and everything, and they comply to certain standards. There is the Building Premises Regulation Act also, which is 2012, which is an act of parliament, all right, for what our schools are supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These are all what we use as a project coordination unit. I'm not saying that if you set up your authority, they're not going to use that. But what I'm saying is, if it is already into being, up and running with the PCU, and you want to set up a similar thing, yes, fine, by all means you can set up a similar thing. But we're saying that our participatory level should be, part and parcel of however you're going to structure your public, building authority. This is exactly what we are saying, especially when it comes to norms and standards, because we are co-OFA and we use standards, international standards, to build our schools, our facilities, and you name them.
For me, I don't know what will be the position of the ministry, because one thing I know, in your processes, your request for proposals or your contract documents will go to your donors for no objection. So now if the authority sits here now or want to get that role, I don't know what will be the position of the donors. So I think we're going to make like this, probably for the information of the authority, but the objection lies on the donors. We can write our request for proposal, our contract document, send to the authority just for their information, but the approval comes from the donors. Because I cannot imagine the donors giving no objection, and the authorities went and give. We not get the money from the donors. So I think we're going to make in such a way that the authority is also respected. But the final thing, because ministry, all your projects, they have their guidelines. We are going to respect the authority, but also we will know how to play between these things. Please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and to further set, all of you are aware. But what it is that if the unit cost of this classroom is, say, 1 million, all right, you delegate the acquisition, preparation of the bidding documents, supervision, and everything to GAMWorks. Not only your unit cost will be 1 million, but it will end up being 2 million. You know why? Because you pay them management fees. At the end of the day also, they have their other structures. It's not favorable in terms of time. It's not favorable also economically, to the extent that these donors nowadays, they are not very, very keen. What they encourage us to do is that set up your similar unit and then take care of these things. There's one element of the cost that you can completely do away with. It's like cutting the middleman, which is creating unnecessary cost burden to you, and as a result, making your unit cost to be more expensive. Comprehensive studies were done. The Honorable is aware. When Mr. Leo Sinker came, and we compared, because Gambia was saying that it's too expensive. Our unit cost for classroom is too expensive compared to all the others in the sub-region. But when we did these studies, we found out that especially the DMC, the delegated management contract, so to speak, this is where the bulk of our cost is coming from, and it's just too expensive. And that was why all the other subsequent projects through donor funds, we didn't go through the DMC. Okay.
According to what I understand, I think there may be a need to put a provision in this bill, maybe to exempt them from those that are to be governed by this authority.
Well,
but for some members, they are saying, like, I want to ask a question. I'm laying a foundation here. So what I'm saying is, some have proposed that they should be part of the board. Do you think that will solve the problems that you have highlighted? Or maybe there may be a need to put a provision to exempt your ministry or that already established authority within the ministry from being part of those that will be covered by the authority.
Thank you very much, Honorable. In our previous submission, we submitted a case of either or. we were saying that this bill assumes that there is no institution in the country that ensures quality and supervises construction. That was that. If you look at the premises, that is how it was laid. And we are saying that in the case of MOPSI, we have a PCU that does basically all the functions that the bill proposes for the authority: quality assurance, designing, standardization, and so on. We appreciate the need for the establishment of the authority because government is investing a lot in infrastructure. We appreciate, but just as you observed, we are saying is either not to exempt us, but to delegate us to continue doing what we are doing. Yes. Or we be part of the board, which we think is a lame reaction, but what we will appreciate most is for us to be left to do what we are doing, and then have some linkages with the authorities somehow. Either we do it and we report to them also. But as the Honorable Chair also observed, authorization under this arrangement is going to be a challenge. You make your proposals, donors have their expectations and requirements. The authority has its responsibilities. There will be conflict at one point where either the donors approve and the authority does not, or the authority approves and the donors do not. So we need to be mindful of that. This is a bill. Once passed, it becomes effective and has to be respected. Thank you.
That's exactly the point that I'm trying to raise here. So like you said, you will be affected because most of your funds come from donor agencies and they set their own standards. So as per that, we can also, because this bill, we also are players in this bill for it to pass. So, and we have to convince other members, you understand, or even the custodian of the bill, we can also convince them based on the premises that you have highlighted. So that's why I said maybe there is a need to have a provision in this bill before it becomes enacted so that you can be exempted and continue your operation as usual. Thank you.
And if I may, Honorable Chair, can I? Yeah. I'm sure you are all aware of MRC Holland. Let's say what one donor can do for 4 years, MRC Holland would do 1 year. So my question is, when you have this authority and when you have MRC Holland, so do you expect MRC Holland to give their money to this authority or to delegate all their responsibilities to this authority and do their classrooms? But say for example with us, with MRC Holland, they're using our structures. They have our construction monitors that they're using and everything. We help them do the supervision because they know what we have. And we give them the design and we give them everything. And that's why when government is doing 500 classrooms per year, MRC Holland is doing 2,000 per year. These are facts. The records are there. So not only MRC Holland, you have other philanthropist groups that would just come and say, hey, I want to provide, my organization is responsible to support the girl child or something like that. So what do you need, MOPSI? And that's the time we say to them, okay, fine, you can build an ECD or you can build, a classroom block. And then they say, okay, fine, tell us what is the unit cost, tell us how much you need. And then they give it to us and then we go and implement. So you can see there's the issue about the donor, there's the issue about the likes of MRC Holland, who is doing tenfold more than what government is even doing. There's the issue about other philanthropist groups. So it's like, fine, it's not for us to approve or disapprove, or it's not for us to dictate whatever the bill is going to say. But I think we have a responsibility also to highlight some of these things that we can foresee and where conflicts can be, and what are the risks. I can tell you for one, that MRC Holland would be very skeptical with such a thing. I might be wrong, I don't know. But because of the way we structure, and these are the likes of MRC Holland that we attract, and they're even going to now start investing on TVET centers. They're in Demban, Julangel, and all those places, building staff for us, which we are helping them, doing the supervision and monitoring, and then helping them in the design aspects. Okay? Thank you. So please consider all these points also.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think we have to understand one thing. This is a bill that is coming to control both government buildings. Exempting PCU might be another issue, because PCU is part of government, and those structures are government structures. So the bill must come to control. I don't think that there will be a problem of all these other bodies that are with you to be continue doing the way they are doing things. But the control mechanism must be in place. And then the PCU cannot be exempted, because at the end of the day, it might be very, very risky. Because if we have 75% of government projects under PCU, and you want to put PCU aside, might be another problem. So I think even if we sit together, if possible, if there is a retreat, we all sit together and share ideas together, I think we can come with a solution. For the meantime, as far as we have a position paper, when we sit on, when all bodies are all around, we discuss together and then come with a final conclusion. I think that's really the best thing to solve the problem.
Very much, honorable members. I reinforce my submission into what the honorable vice chair said. We will sit together, still integrate our brain cells and ideas. I'm sure we are going to achieve a progressive law that's not going to affect anybody. But when you are making a law, you don't make exemption, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be well done. But we will sit over this. I'm sure the ministry will have their role to do, the authority will have their role to do, without any clash or conflict in the future, because we are going to avoid that very seriously. We are going to make sure the ministry continue to do their work, the authority continue to do their work mandated by the law, where there will be no clash or conflict in the future. We will be very mindful of that, inshallah. So this brings us to the end of this session. If any honorable member can move.
Okay. Because since they are working on standards, international standards, they can be, it can be part of the bill. You can put a provision, like in the case of MOPSI and their projects, all school buildings should meet the standard of set by the ministry, so that they can also be protected.
Higher education. So when are you expecting you?
Yes, thank you very much. I will report back all the proceedings, and we will get back to you as you give us a deadline end of July, if I get the chairman right. Yes, so I will report back accordingly, and we will get back to you. Okay. Thank you.